2025 has concluded, and with that, we were brought the same amount of TDS updates somehow. This time, many more of them either being somewhat mid or really good. And in this video, just like last year, I want to rank every TDS update in 2025 and figure out which ones were good and which ones were pretty bad. Before the video starts, if you do enjoy this video, please consider subscribing and liking the video. Without further ado, let's rank these updates. The first update of this year is update 1.48, which just stated this year's supposed updates we would be getting and fixing a few things. So, F tier for first update, we're going strong. Next update was Archer's rework, giving Archer 3 different arrows to use with different abilities, and overall just buffing him, while also balancing some other towers and give us this nerd as a skin, so I'll put it in C tier. 1.50 was Pizza Party rework. While I don't really like Pizza Party as a game mode, I will say that out of all of the mini reworks that the special modes got, this one was definitely the best out of them, changing an overall mediocre FNAF version of Fallen into an even better FNAF version of Fallen, buffing enemies and bringing different gimmicks from other modes along with having mini bosses, and also gave us the Cybertruck military base, which is it's kind of funny, I won't lie. For this one, I'll give it a B tier. Up next is 1.51, which was Rocketeer's rework, while keeping him the same for 3 of his levels rather than being a ground mortar on his last level. Instead, he has 4 rockets that target their own enemies. Depending on how many enemies are in his range, will determine what rocket will shoot what enemy. This also changed Rocketeer for the better to now having multiple uses, with his 3rd level being good damage for mid-game and single target, and his last level being more splash focused with less damage. They also nerfed Pizza Party in this update because it was a bit too hard on release, and also remodeled every Rocketeer skin. So I'll give this one an A tier, because Rocketeer became such a good tower after this. 1.52 was another special mode rework, being the Badlands 2 rework. While the rework on its own isn't anything special and definitely does need some work, it's not the reason why this update is an F tier. Rather, it's because in this update they added the most annoying fucking skin this game has ever seen. The Game Master Crowbar skin. Arguably more annoying than Prime Arcade Fun. Fortress Rocketeer was cool though, I did like that. Next update was just the Valentine skin update. While it was literally just the skins and some fixes, I'll still give it a C tier because these year's Valentine skins were some of the cleanest ones yet. After Valentine's update was the Polluted Wastelands mini rework, which wasn't really anything. The total changelog of the quote-unquote rework was adding 5 new enemies, which were past enemies from older events, and just buffed everything to be up to date with its difficulty, and also made it reward gems, which level locked it to level 50. This one gets a C tier. I really hope this year they go back and tweak the special game modes again, because Badlands and Polluted got absolutely nothing, and I think they deserve a little bit more justice. After that update was the easy mode rework. The rework part of the paragraph was them literally adding the brute from the tutorial and putting Gravedigger in casual mode. No enemy changes or nothing. This gets F tier. Next update was 1.56, which was no new content, just some changes, so it's another fucking F tier. After that, it was a bit more interesting, thankfully, because it was the Mega Hunt event update. While the Roblox event itself was just a repackaged version of last year's Hunt event with less games, which did mean less dogshit titles being included, TDS's event for the Mega Hunt edition wasn't really anything special, but I don't think it needed to be. It wasn't amazing by any standards, but it wasn't bad either. It was just a simple good event that had some skins for rewards, a hard mode, and Vendor Farm finally came out after like 4 years, so I'll give it a C tier. The update after the hunt was a surprisingly good one, in my opinion. That one being the achievement update. With this update, a proper achievement system was added to the game, which allowed you to claim achievements for titles and really good rewards for stuff like time skill tickets, coins, and gems. This honestly is one of the sleeper updates this year, because achievements are a really good way to help new players get coins and gems more efficiently, and it also had some good balance changes like Toxic Gunner being buffed again, so this update is a B tier. 1.59 was the April Fool's update. The joke this year definitely had less quality than the last one, as much as we all despise last year's joke. It became this for like 8 days. It also added Ronaldo and Messi, the best farm skin in the game, and the fucking locked-in alien, and added some peak map designs like Baseplate W, WTDS C-tier update, yo. Next update was 1.60, which was another nothing burger. Simply just adding PvP testing and another map called Hotspot, which is a really cool map. Fortunately, this update gets F tier because nothing really got added, but the next one is a lot better. That next update being this year's TDS Easter event called Ducky Revenge. While being another version of the 2022 Easter event, this one is very different. The map itself is a split lane map with one centered point to defend, but 2 entrances where enemies come from, and 2 lanes for the easy mode, but 4 lanes on hard mode. Because of this, you're given 4 turrets around the map that do 33 DPS each, and its price increases by $2,500 after one is bought. The event's story is also a tiny bit humorous, I'd argue. Basically, the ducks live in a bathroom and their portal got shut off somehow, causing them all to essentially starve. This smart duck goes to investigate the portal and finds a God Cube shard. He realizes what he can do with it and rallies the ducks to create an army to get bread. Meanwhile, in the time chambers, Scout, Soldier, and Pyro come out of the toilet looking for the shard. The gang climbs up and finds the smart ducky and his army, and they just attack him. We then get put through the event where the smart ducky has a fucking zombot where he tries to defeat us with, but he loses, obviously. Smart ducky gets all sad because of his plan being ruined. Scout simply walks up to him, puts a fucking gun to his head. Smart ducky pleads with Bro to not kill him, which ends up working, because why the fuck would you shoot him? And then V walks up to the duck, compliments Bro's inventor skills, and bribes him to come work with her. Then also tells him the portal's turned back on and his homeworld won't starve to death anymore. When you beat the event on hard mode, you're earned the Biologist Tower, which is basically a PvZ version of Engineer. She can hit all detections, her plants are fairly good, and she is completely stun immune so long as the plants don't die from the attack, which makes her really good and really compatible with all of the modes. This event also had its own battle pass with a fucking PvZ skin. I will forever love this game for that. The rest of the skins were really good and had some mini objectives you can do for some extra rewards. Overall, this update is a solid A tier. Finally, some good content. 1.62 goes right back into the ditch because it just added the Ducky DJ booth and a name tag. While the Ducky DJ is a good skin, that was the whole update, so it gets F tier. Next update is a little bit more interesting because it was Swarmer's rework, and it actually felt kind of like a rework. Compared to old Swarmer, which was a really outdated chip damage tower, being only useful for his B grenade ability, they took his chip damage aspect and turned it into a ramp up DPS tower. Swarmer was now a main DPS tower, being more useful with less players, because the more Swarmers you have, the more Bs you have, which means the more shit tons of damage you can deal. The idea behind Swarmer being a ramp up DPS tower that was good in solo and duo was kind of cool, even though it was admittedly very broken on release, which is why Swarmer rework gets B tier. The update after this one was not much, just fixes 2 new maps and a Swarmer nerf, so F tier. 1.65 was the skill tree update, which is one of probably the other most controversial updates that came out this year. While definitely not being the worst update, it also wasn't the greatest either. The idea behind a skill tree being in this game actually sounds somewhat enticing, creating a longer form of grinding that players can casually do as they play the game. The problem though is the skills themselves and the price to max it out. The price when it initially came out was 1.5 million coins. The most amount of coins you can grind in an hour is at least 10,000, meaning if you dedicated to grind it for multiple hours a day, it would still take you at least a month to max it out. And to casually grind this out would probably take multiple. The other problem that I personally have is that the skills just aren't that interesting at all. The skills are categorized into 4 different categories, those being offensive, economy, strategy, and defense. The skills in each category are really basic, like being able to upgrade a tower's range or upgrade players' max health, reduce cooldown for spawning units. Like they're extremely basic. While there's 4 skills per category, the bulk of the grind is the fact that you can upgrade these skills a lot, which adds up with how effective the skill is, but also over time adds up to a lot of coins per skill. I feel like a better way of doing this could have been less amount of upgrades in favor for more skills in each category. You could also introduce tower-specific skills that magnify their abilities. Overall, I feel like the skill tree could have been executed a lot better, which is why it just gets a C tier. It works currently, but it could be a lot better. The update after that was a fucking Walmart partnership collab, which added a single farm skin and bug fixes. F tier. After Walmart partnership collab, I guess. The next update brought the long-awaited Hacker Tower. While I don't think Hacker's levels are fairly balanced, with the only good levels, in my opinion, being level 2 and both max levels, the idea behind her being the ultimate jack-of-all-trades towers with the ability to clone any type of tower, I do think it's pretty unique. Along with more good balance changes like accelerators, overpowered rebalance, and Cowboy being buffed with the ability to make more money, makes this update an A tier for me. After Hacker was a sort of mini update, which really only nerfed the skill tree, making the total coins to max it out be reduced from 1.5 million to 780,000 coins, and it also nerfed a few skills. Even though it was a good change, still an F tier, there's no content. 1.68 was an update dedicated to new players, adding ready buttons before matches start, updated game mode cards with more details on the modes, and just other various fixes, so C tier. The next update was the 4th of July update. This didn't really add anything, but because of a singular feature, I'm gonna put it at B tier for me, and it's the tower information button being added. This single feature is one of the simplest and best things this game's ever added, probably second to keybinds. Before this, various information that wasn't added to the upgrade UI would not be shown, but with this update you can see everything the tower does for that upgrade. For example, before this you could not tell where Ace Pilot's hit detection range was, or his bomb damage. Heck, if you didn't know Ace Pilot did this, then you would have never figured that out. Now you were able to see those stats that were previously hidden, and for that alone, it gets a B tier. The next one was the Surf and Turf Battle Pass update. While not really bringing anything special, unlike the tower info, it still brought a Battle Pass with good skins and emotes in it, along with some good balance changes like Frost Blaster's buff and Rocketeer's overall buff. Surf and Turf gets a C tier from me. Unfortunately, the next update is not much better, and is another contender for one of the worst updates of this year. The release of PvP mode. PvP mode as a whole really needed a lot more work put into it, and the main complaint I have with it is how you play the mode. The entire point of the mode works around you sending enemies to the opponent's side. Considering how each mode's wave structure is fairly okay to deal with, sending enemies is required to increase the pressure. You're also required to send in order to get more money, and most of the consumables only affect the zombies that you send. Because of this, most people send the most efficient zombies for eco and pressure, that being hazmats for normal, I don't know what other modes are. Bring towers that deal good splash damage and DPS towers, and you either stall the game out for 30 minutes because your opponent had the same idea, or you win because the opponent didn't have the same plan. There's no real room for strategy when the main strategy requires you to send the most efficient thing for money, which doesn't help with the fact that some zombies punish you by removing some of your eco by sending that zombie, requiring you to send to build up your eco to then waste it on stronger zombies and rinse and repeat. Ranked kinda fixes this, allowing people to ban towers of your choice, but with many different permutations of DPS towers, splash towers, and support, it almost doesn't matter. Ranked is also a bit buggy because last time I checked, elo gain is inconsistent. I don't know if it got fixed, which already makes the heavy grind inconsistent. And the only reason you would be playing this mode and ranked is for a single accelerator skin. You get no other rewards, just a skin for playing ranked, and it's at the last tier. I'm sorry, but this whole update's an F tier. I really hope they fix it. The next one is a little bit better, being the release of the Assassin Tower. Assassin isn't necessarily a bad tower. In fact, I really like the Assassin and think it's a good tower. The problem is that his purpose comes into question when Shotgunner already exists. Both towers are cheap early game and good crowd control, and the only difference is how they work mechanically. Assassin works like Warden, where his third hit creates an AoE attack which does less than his main damage, but he also has another ability at max where he can charge up a meter that when it's full, he will throw 3 knives that do 60 damage and can pierce enemies. While Shotgunner has individual pellets which do a low amount of damage, but he shoots a lot of them and they can pierce enemies. Shotgunner also just one-ups Assassin by having lead detection. They also rebalanced Archer again and made him look chopped to shit, and some other changes were made, so I'll give it a C tier. Like I said, he's not a bad tower at all, but him and Shotgunner conflict with each other, which puts into question why he exists in the first place. The update after Assassin brought the medic and the turret rework. Well, turret wasn't that interesting, wasn't even a rework, simply getting his skins remade to be cooler and the tower being overall buffed. Medic, on the other hand, became one of the best support towers overnight because of this update, being able to click on specific towers you want to buff, which would give him a protective shield, and in this update, gave a 20% fire rate buff. Later on, when you upgrade her, you unlock the Uber ability, which when maxed, gives the towers a 40% damage buff, and gave the selected towers every detection. Her becoming a watered down commander that can protect your towers from stuns and can give your towers a damage buff that gives them all detections makes this update an easy A tier for me. The next update is the last contender for worst update of this year, and it's the Modifiers and Trials update. I personally think this is one of the worst updates because I simply don't like how they implemented modifiers. Because I thought of it like Bloons, where they're the mini challenges that you have to do alongside the main mode. Now I thought you would earn them through possibly the shop as things you can purchase, or maybe another simple way you can earn them. But how they're actually earned is through this. First, find the respective modifier you're trying to earn because they rotate every 3 hours. You then have to find teammates and pick good loadouts. You then have to beat the trial on a specific map with the respective modifier enabled. That's 40 waves long, has a difficult wave structure with hard enemies, which includes 2 mini bosses, and a final boss having 400,000 HP. And you do all of that to get a single modifier. There's 12 more if you want to collect them all, bro. I personally think it's just too many hoops for one modifier. The second problem I have, personally, is that the modifiers themselves are just boring. They're kind of boring, I'm gonna be honest. Which wouldn't be a problem on its own if the modifiers were simpler to get, but the fact you have to do all of this just to get a modifier that turns every enemy into a hidden is stupid in my opinion. And this one goes into F tier for me. Next update is 1.76, which was the one where we got one of the best thumbnails for the game and one of the worst thumbnails of all time. The only content related thing that was added was Jester being put on sale, but they also advertised the live event they were doing, which wasn't added when the update actually dropped, but a few days after it was teased. The event when it came out was really cool with cool cinematics, and we got to see EXO for like the first time in like fucking a year or something. For the first like hour or something, there was admin abuse being included for a short period, which was also kind of funny.
Cliff Pyro.
I hope.
And if you beat the event, you would get a band crate. The band crate consists of these 4 skins, and you were able to get one of them. The band skins are probably the most unique looking series in this game. It's just kind of a shame they're locked behind an event. I hope they get incorporated somehow, but because of that, this update gets a C tier. Now we move on to the last few updates of the year, which are also some of my favorite updates this game has dropped. Starting with the Null and Void event. Every single Null and Void event update goes in S tier. Now let me glaze this real quick. I unironically think that this event competes with being the best event this game has ever released alongside Solar Eclipse. That being, the piece of the story being told this time was a lot more clear compared to the last 2 events, which was not the greatest. Each night's pacing was good as well, having equally interesting parts in their cutscenes for each night. With the first night introducing the Riftwalker and 2X, who vow to keep Exo's ass from coming back and protect the meta. Second night bringing back Peek into the game, and the third night having the long-awaited introduction of Lord Exo. More importantly, the event itself was fun to play. Each night was balanced really well, and you being able to choose a curse every few waves was an interesting idea. Even though the curses admittedly had some very obviously better choices compared to others, the idea was still really cool. The music was good, the battle pass was good, everything about it redeemed the mediocre status of the last few Halloween events in this game. The side objectives you can do were also a nice touch, which also gave you a few band crates. Finally, the event tower that you were rewarded with was very different, and that tower was the Warlock. Warlock is a hybrid tower with a range attack that does medium damage with a slow fire rate, and a melee attack that has an even slower fire rate but much higher damage. They're also able to knock enemies back with the range attacks, and still have fuck tons of bugs that weren't reportedly fixed. Can we bug fix our game paradoxum? Either way, this entire event is once again S tier for me. After Null and Void concluded, we got a simple bug fix update and a new name tag. To get it, you had to do the same thing you had to do for the Hexscape name tag, which was beat all 3 nights on hard with a singular loadout, and it looks kind of cool, I guess. This one goes on C tier. 1.81 was up next, which was the Black Friday sale, which brought back a few old towers, revamped a few maps, and fixed some bugs. So it'll get it like a C tier or something, I don't know. 1.82 was the addition of the Frost mode. Now, I do like the Frost mode. there are a few complaints I have with it. First of all, this one's a bit nitpicky. The dialogue, I'll keep it a buck with you. The dialogue is so cheesy. It's so fucking cheesy.
If I knew they were frost enemies, I would have brought Pyro. These snowballs keep stunning us.
Have you tried, I don't know, ducking?
Duck this one.
Sometimes, though, it is a tiny bit of a problem because for waves like Wave 24, where the Frost Invader comes out with lead detection, the only dialogue shown is, hey, I see something coming out of the frost, build up your defenses. If you forget what wave Frost Invader comes out, how does this help you? Another thing is about the enemies. Most of them are reused from Operation Ice, which is understandable because they fit the mode. It is a shame there's only like a few new enemies. I did wish there were more new looking ones, but the main other problem about them is that 4 of them actually attack your towers. Frost mode was promised to be a mode with frozen enemies with tower attacking abilities, which I feel like there would be way more enemies that stun towers because multiple modes already do that. But there's literally only 3 new ones, with Frost Hero and Frost Spirit just being parodies of Fallen Guardian and Fallen King. The whole mode feels a lot like just a remade version of Fallen, but a lot harder. But even with those critiques, I still think it's a good mode. While difficulty could be a little bit higher, it's still fairly difficult, and the rewards for beating it are really good, giving a lot of coins and a few gems. Frost mode gets an A tier for me. The current one definitely does need a bit of work, but it's still a good mode regardless, and I'm glad it was added. Last but not least, we arrive at the final update of 2025.
Sir?
Do you have something to say to me? I do.
Which is the Final Act update. Very fitting name, I'll be honest. The Final Act is what Lunar Overture should have been. Cut and dry. It gave the narrator a much needed glow up. The story of the event, rather than being a complete retelling, where Umbra's story was the focus, it instead focused on the history of Lord Exo, 2X, and the old world. Once again, the piece of the story told in this event, not being, the most important part, arguably, is still clear and has some funny moments, like how we just keep forgetting to fix the zombie problem in our realm. We were also shown a lot more backstage, like Engineer getting a fucking voice actor out of the blue, them referencing Corso with fucking mortar,
Has great crowd control.
and Commander's still pissed off and wants to break narrator's neck. I am a bit disappointed that Commander keeps flip-flopping between like good guy and bad guy, but him being edgy is kind of funny and understandable, rightfully so. The map itself is also one of the coolest event maps, I think, aside from like Operation Ice and other ones, being a big theater made out of a fucking military base. The reward you get for beating the shit out of narrator is the Spotlight Tech Tower. Now, Spotlight Tech is a really good support tower, but I just want to take a moment to express how frustratingly annoying it is that this tower and Elf Camp were spawn camped with bugs. His main gimmick being able to expose hiddens so towers without hidden detection can hit them is bugged. His burn damage is bugged, being his main damage, and Elf Camp, which got remodeled and rebalanced, still has a bug where enemies will not do their correct damage, or in these 2 units cases, do not do damage at all. It's annoying, but whenever these 2 get fixed, they're good additions. I do like them. The battle pass is once again really solid, with good skins and more peak being brought into the game, and unfortunately the Showtime crates and Christmas crates. This is the only proper criticism aside from the rough animation in the intro cutscene and the bugs, but they're honestly not really that important. The crates are a problem though, because the drop rates on release were 3% in Frost and 5% in the event. I'll put up on screen how much time that would take to do to get all the crates. This was buffed to be a not much better 15% for Frost and 20% for the event. Other than the bullshit that this update has, which is the crates and the bugs, I do still think this update is an S tier. The event itself is really solid and simple, and I'm glad Lunar Overture got the justice it deserved. And with that, we are done with the ranking. Here's my list for every 2025 update that the game brought. I was gonna say some other bullshit after this, but this video is stretching into March. I'm just gonna leave it here. Hope you enjoyed. Like, subscribe. Bye-bye, bro. I can't.